Stellar's XLM targets for 57 cents. In this video, we're going to dive down into the technical analysis for Stellar, talking specifically about the price action of XLM. As we get into this video, guys, if you do find it useful and informative, hit that like button. We really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then do go ahead and subscribe. Tap that bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. Right, with all that said, done out of the way, let's dive down into these charts and talk about what is going on with XLM. We're going to skip the weekly, guys, and we're just going to focus in on the daily and the hourly. So here we have the daily chart, and I really want to just talk about the recent kind of price action. Now, we do have the high peak that we've seen back in May of 2021. This came in at 79 cents. We then obviously started to see XLM pull back significantly. This took us down to some low areas of about 19.7 cents, where in fact there was a double tap just down here. You can see tap 1 and tap 2, very similar to how XLM was basically kind of mimicking XRP. Now here we have this double tap, right? And then we started to see a good traction in August, taking us up to these higher areas around that 382 of 42.7 cents. Here we can got a bit of rejection during the month of September, the pullback, and then obviously we started to move back to the upside. Recently we've seen, I think it's about 7% at the point of recording this video, push back to the upside. Now overall, what I'm going to talk about, guys, is a cup and handle. Like many of these altcoins and even Bitcoin to a degree have been forming a cup and handle pattern, taking us to some pretty interesting price discovery next. In the case of XLM, we are targeting 57 cents. And this is basically because we haven't gone as high on this rebound bounce to the upside like we have seen with many of these other cryptocurrencies. Instead, we actually have to take it from our 382 area where we actually rallied up to before we had the major pullback in September. So when we actually take this and we draw our cup here, we actually have the handle pulling down in the month of September, and then we start to see a good push to the upside towards our 57 cent target. That actually just puts us above the 618 and just below the 702. This is a key area for XLM. This is going to be the main battle zone when we talk about trying to push through here going into new price discovery. As you can see, this is an area that we've been battling previously a couple of times before even falling back down in this initial pullback from Bitcoin. So right now we do anticipate that a good cup and handle pattern here that has formed, and this is about 60 to 70% accurate. So again, this is actually quite a neat example where there are some very sloppy ones out there. This is a very neat cup and handle that I do think is likely to continue this growth to the upside, take out that 57 cent area, specifically on the back of the fantastic news with MoneyGram as well. So I think overall, everything's looking pretty good for XLM and Stellar. On this daily chart, we've got some pretty good targets associated with some pretty key levels on the XLM chart, right? So we're talking about moving up to 57 cent. This is the 618. This is the main start of the battle, and before we go into new territory for new highs. Obviously, we have got two Fibonacci retracement tools on here. This one on the right-hand side takes the all-time high and the bear market low and talks about a 4.236 coming in at $3.88. That's kind of a stretch target where we do like to think that that's something that is possible. On the current performance side, we have a fib over here, taking the high of May and the low of June and July. And this actually then takes us to a 4.236 extension based on current performance of $2.74. So again, pretty lucrative, a little bit above the previous all-time high, but not as good as many of these other altcoins in the space. With that being said, though, XLM does seem to be a pretty solid project. It has a lot going on, and it is doing a lot in the world of Africa as well. So I do think there's a lot of promise with this particular project long-term, and something that I'm happy to be invested in. And let me know in the comments below, do you feel that XLM moves too slowly for you, or are you happy to invest in a project that is doing so much good in the world? Let me know. I'm super interested for you guys to kind of let me know your thoughts and opinions. So let's continue. Let's first of all jump over to the advice.io dashboard and start talking about what that underlying data for XLM is looking like and whether or not this is going to aid in that target of 57 cents. Here we have Stellar with an overall rating of B1. It's just on the cusp of entering into that top tier of A1, A2, A3. So a pretty good position overall, but there obviously are some issues, and we're going to get into what this might look like. As we come on down here, we have the Sharpe ratio. This is an A2 rating. So the Sharpe ratio is basically your risk reward ratio. And right now, with an A2, the second best rating that you can get from the advice.io dashboard, the AI and machine learning is indicating to us that the rewards outweigh the risks. Okay, so pretty good. You might want some exposure to XLM. We take a look at the fear and greed index, where there are so many altcoins right now in extreme fear. It's good to see that XLM is actually in a state of greed right now. This is going to help aid with that FOMO FOMO and help with the push to the upside towards our 57-cent target. You couple that greed along with our sharp ratio, you can see that there's good exposure to XLM and might be something that you might want to consider. As we come on down here, we can also see an 𝗕𝗓 ratio. This is a rating of D. Now, the 𝗕𝗓 ratio is the problem when it comes to XLM right now. And this is basically liquidity. So 𝗕𝗓 ratio represents liquidity, and right now there seems to be some liquidity-based problems. This is not isolated just to XLM mind. There are many altcoins in the space that are experiencing very similar problems with their 𝗕𝗓 ratio. Basically, we're seeing some problems with liquidity. This could be centralized exchanges, decentralized exchanges, or the fact that too many people have been selling. Now, in the case of Stellar here, I think this is more than likely going to be something that's an exchange-based, be that centralized or decentralized. There certainly seems to be some issues with liquidity, and this could be preventing the price surging much higher. So there's a little bit of caution here just based on that liquidity and potential issue. When we continue this though, we can also see the moving averages up at an A2 rating, perfectly fine, and the profitability is an A1 rating, the best it can be. So there's only one issue, and that is liquidity. Everything else in this in this kind of background data, the underlying value of XLM right now is absolutely very good, and basically is indicating that you might want some exposure to this particular altcoin ahead of where it is going. Now, I'm not a financial advisor, Chris is not a financial advisor. It's important that if you want to do your own research, that you use these right tools. I do stress that advice.io is very good. It's been right more times than I can count. There's a link in the description below. It's completely free to use. Do sign up and use it in doing your own research. Hopefully it will help you in understanding exactly what is going on with your altcoins and the cryptocurrencies that you're invested in, specifically from a Sharpe ratio, fear and greed index ratio, liquidity-based problems, and ROI. With all that said, let's jump back to the charts and actually take this down to that hour chart, okay, and talk about the most recent kind of price action and what we might expect to see happen next. As we can see, that we've been pushed through a lot of boundaries here, finding good support on 32.8 cent. We had a good push to the upside today, and we are coming back down, lowering our stochastic down to the oversold area. So we are anticipating a bit of a pullback now and to continue. And I think we are going to find an interesting support level on about 34.8 cent. That seems like a pretty sensible area. So I think there's going to be something just around here that could see us basically take our stochastic down to the oversold area without doing too much damage to the price. And again, that comes down to that sentiment. We have good volume coming in here, good purchasing volume as we push the price up. And as the price pulls back, we can see the volumes drop down. That's the sentiment that we like to see. That allows us to basically protect our price discovery, find good support, and then continue that growth overall. This is what's going to help aid us in going towards 57 cent. And again, we just have to be mindful over some liquidity-based problems. Overall, XLM is looking pretty good. Do anticipate some small time volatility, just getting us down to a good support level. And again, I'm just going to mark that up with a horizontal ray. I just find that there because this is a key area that I do anticipate us kind of falling back to 34.9 that's coming in at. So basically just a little over a cent, just pull back. That would basically allow us to have our stochastic corrected and then allow us to continue that growth to the upside, pushing back to the upside with some good strong volumes behind it. Again, our next kind of targets are going to be way up here. We can see actually we're fighting this area as well right now, but ultimately we're going to be looking to push up into those 40 cent ranges pretty comfortably, I do feel, on the journey to 57 cent. Overall, I think XLM has been performing pretty well. Again, it's been a bit slow, and specifically if we actually jump back into our daily chart and we take a look at the history on this thing. Ultimately, it had lots of kind of pullbacks, very frustrating for many investors, but nonetheless, the progress to the upside was pretty good overall. If we actually take this down and we take a look at where we were during our low points of March 2020, and we go ahead and grab our price and date range here, and I actually just grab that just here, and we take it up to the high point that we had during the May time. That actually was a 3,000% move. So not the best in the space, but definitely not the worst. It's outperformed things like Bitcoin, but not as good as things like Ethereum. Overall, I do anticipate some pretty good moves still to occur here with XLM. Although it seems to be a slow burner, it definitely has got some pretty good traction going on, and we can see another 660% left in this bull run, at least on the kind of smaller timescale, and to be kind of safe about what we say. As $2.74 area, it does seem pretty plausible for XLM on the last leg of this bull run. Overall, I'm pretty happy to be invested in here. Danielle Dixon definitely gets all those deals across the line for the Stellar Development Foundation, and I really am pleased with all the things that they are doing over in Africa and basically, really helping with the unbanked. It's good to see that they're also, talking about moving into the cross-border payment sector as well. So overall, I think there's a lot of progress happening here with XLM. Again, the people's coin, if you will. And I do anticipate some pretty good moves towards the latter part of the year. Guys, I'm going to leave the video there. Hopefully you have found it useful and informative. If you have, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap that bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With this said, done, and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.